Welcome to Void Realities. If you're awake when the world sleeps, you found the right place. Here, the lines between dreams and reality blur, and you can drift away into a world that feels like it's just for you. No rush, no pressure. Just a space for you to unwind, let go of the noise, and find calm in the quiet of the night. Whether you're seeking peace, wonder, or something to help guide you into sleep, Void Realities is your escape. Sit back, relax, and let your mind wander to the edge of the unknown. Welcome to the void. Asteroid mining, the next gold rush beyond Earth. The night sky as a silent archive. You gaze upward, where every star and drifting stone carries a memory of creation. The sky feels endless, yet each glimmer is a record of time older than Earth itself. Asteroids, quiet wanderers, circle in their ancient orbits, unnoticed but ever present. And tonight, you begin to listen to what they might whisper back to us. You lie back, and the ceiling of the universe stretches above you, wide and unbroken. The night sky has no walls, no edges you can touch, only a dome that leans endlessly away. In its quiet, the stars are steady, small fires set in a tapestry of black. Yet you know, if you let your thoughts wander gently outward, that each light is far more than a pinprick. Each is an echo. Each is a page in a story that has been written for billions of years, a story you have only just begun to read. Breathe slowly. The night invites patience. Just as your breath rises and falls, the stars have their own rhythm. They seem still, but they too are moving, circling the galaxy in silent paths that your eyes cannot follow. The universe, vast and indifferent, keeps its own pace. You are small within it, yet your mind reaches further than your body ever could. Tonight it reaches not only for stars, but for the smaller, quieter travelers in the dark, the asteroids. Asteroids do not shine. They do not call attention to themselves with fire or brilliance. They are fragments of stone and metal, leftovers from creation. To most eyes, they are invisible, tucked away in silence. But to scientists and to you now, they are archives. Each carries within its rough body a record of the early solar system. They are pieces of history that never melted into planets, never wore the faces of moons, never flared into comets. They remain as they were at the beginning, untouched, ancient, and patient. Imagine holding a small rock in your hand. Perhaps it feels ordinary, cool, textured, a little rough. Yet if that rock were from the depths of space, it would be a message from 4.5 billion years ago. It would hold clues to the chemistry that sparked planets and to the ingredients that one day gave rise to life itself. These stones are time capsules without lids, waiting in orbit, drifting silently as if guarding secrets. The sky is not just decoration, it is a library. Every asteroid, every drifting piece of matter is like a book without words, a volume written in minerals, metals, and frozen water. And when we learn to read them, we glimpse our own beginnings. Asteroids live in great belts and scattered groups, yet even here in their numbers, they are quiet. They orbit the sun, some near Mars, some farther away, and a few wandering close to Earth. They pass above without sound, like lanterns unlit. Still they record everything. Inside them are elements forged in stellar fire, iron that once pulsed inside dying stars, carbon that shaped the possibility of organic life, water locked as ice waiting for warmth to release it. You rest beneath the night, and you sense the weight of that continuity. Each asteroid is not simply a rock. It is continuity embodied. While oceans rose and continents shifted on Earth, while species bloomed and vanished, while human hands learned to light fire and write symbols, those asteroids remained the same. Their patience dwarfs your own, and their stillness is deeper than silence. You might wonder how we can ever know their stories when they seem so far and hidden. Yet astronomers have found ways to listen. Telescopes record the light that reflects from their surfaces, faint and scattered. By watching how an asteroid dims a star as it passes in front, scientists measure its shape, its orbit, its secrets. Spacecraft have touched them directly, like gentle fingers reaching across the void. A speck of dust returned to Earth in a capsule tells more than 1,000 books. You realize that silence does not mean absence of voice. It means waiting for someone to hear. And in that realization, you relax further. The night sky becomes less like a ceiling, more like an open archive. The asteroids, the small and overlooked, remind you that meaning often hides in what seems ordinary. Just as a simple heartbeat sustains your body, these simple stones sustain the memory of the cosmos. You imagine drifting closer to one. At first it looks dark and featureless, a lump against black space, but as you near, its surface shows detail, ridges, craters, glittering specks of metal. You see dust that has not moved for millions of years. You feel, without touching, the quiet weight of time. This is no jewel polished by rivers or winds. It is raw, unshaped, direct from the forge of creation. The thought soothes you, for if the universe can hold such archives for billions of years, then nothing is truly lost. Your own life, brief as it feels, belongs to the same story. You are not outside the archive. You are written into it. Your body carries iron from those ancient stars. Your blood carries water once cycled through comets and asteroids. You are part of the record, not separate from it. Breathe again and imagine the rhythm of your chest aligned with the rhythm of the solar system. Your heart beats as planets orbit, as asteroids drift, as stars burn. You are small, yes, but you are also continuous with all of it. The night sky reminds you that patience is not emptiness. It is the quiet persistence of being. As you sink deeper into this calm awareness, you feel a question forming. If asteroids are archives, what exactly do they hold? What hidden elements lie within their cores? What resources wait in silence, unclaimed and untouched? The universe does not answer quickly. It lets the question rest in your chest, like a seed waiting for warmth. Your eyes close, but behind your lids the sky remains, filled with its silent travelers. They move endlessly, circling, carrying their records of fire and stone. And tomorrow or the day after, you may follow them more closely, to learn not only what they remember, but what they might offer. For the night sky is not just past, it is future. Each asteroid is not only an archive but a possibility. And in their silence, they invite you to imagine what might come next. Stones born from cosmic fire. You drift backward in thought toward the fiery cradle of the solar system. Dust, heat, and gravity wove the first rocky bodies that now sleep in the void. These fragments are fossils of formation, untouched for billions of years. You imagine holding one, a shard of the universe's childhood. Close your eyes and let your mind drift further back than memory allows. Beyond history, beyond Earth's mountains and oceans, beyond the first trees, even beyond the planet itself. You are traveling to a time when nothing yet resembled the world you know. The universe was already old, but the solar system, your home, was only just beginning to take shape. Picture a vast cloud, wide as eternity, floating in silence. It is not empty. It is filled with gas and dust, fine grains left behind by generations of stars. These grains are not ordinary dust. Each carries the fingerprint of an ancient furnace, the ashes of stars that lived and died long before the sun was born. In this cloud lies the raw material of everything familiar. Iron, carbon, oxygen, silicates, and water molecules frozen as ice. Now imagine gravity stirring, not suddenly but slowly like the turning of a tide. Gravity pulls gently at first, nudging grains toward one another, encouraging them to meet. Collisions happen everywhere, soft at first, like dust settling onto a table. Then more and more until clumps form, gathering into bodies large enough to feel their own pull. Each collision is heat, each union a spark in the growing fire of creation. The cloud begins to collapse. In its center the sun ignites, a newborn star blazing with fusion. Around it the leftover matter swirls into a disk, a glowing whirlpool of dust and gas. Within this fiery cradle the first stones are born. They are not smooth or polished. They are chaotic, irregular, sticky with dust and molten at their cores, yet they are the first building blocks, the seeds of planets and moons. Breathe slowly and picture this dance of creation. The stones collide, sometimes merging, sometimes shattering apart again. It is messy, but within the chaos is a kind of order. Over millions of years, countless impacts sculpted the architecture of the solar system. Some stones grew large enough to become planets, some remained as moons. But many never made it that far. They stayed small, circling quietly, fragments of the original cloud. These survivors are what we now call asteroids. Asteroids are fossils of fire. They hold within them the chemistry of the early disk, unchanged for billions of years. The same silicates that formed their crusts still shimmer today. The same metals that sank toward their hearts still gleam in hidden veins. To hold a piece of an asteroid is to cradle the solar system's memory, as if you were touching the embers of its first fire. Your body too remembers this fire. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your cells, all of it was forged in stars, then gathered into that same ancient disk. The stones and your body are relatives, born from the same inheritance. When you imagine the cosmic fire, you are remembering a part of yourself. Let your breath align with the rhythm of time. Slowly, gently, you feel the immensity of ages. 4.5 billion years ago, these stones cooled and hardened. They circled the sun then, as they do now, waiting, holding their archives. Entire worlds rose and vanished, yet the stones endured. They are children of fire who never outgrew their childhood. Scientists sometimes call them planetesimals, small planets that never became large. But the word feels too clinical. To you, they are storytellers. Their chemistry tells of heat and pressure, of molten interiors and frozen surfaces. Their surfaces record every collision, every scar of impact. They are history made tangible, written not in ink but in minerals and metals. Imagine floating near one in silence. Its surface is uneven, sharp in places, dusty in others. You brush your hand along it, and the particles drift slowly into the void. No wind to carry them, no water to wear them down. What you touch has been unchanged since the beginning. It is as though the stone has been waiting for you, holding its secret, offering it in stillness. This is how life often begins, not in sudden drama, but in patience. The stones remind you that creation takes time, that fire cools into solidity, that chaos softens into order. Their story is one of endurance and of waiting for the right conditions. They did not know then that billions of years later, a living being would pause to wonder at their origin. Yet here you are, listening. The stones whisper lessons if you are quiet enough to hear. They remind you that great things come from small beginnings, that even fragments can carry the memory of something vast. That survival in itself is a kind of victory. As you sink deeper into this thought, you notice how your body mirrors this cosmic history. Your heart beats with warmth, like the molten core of those early planetesimals. Your breath carries oxygen, once released from ancient rocks. You are not separate from this story. You are its continuation. And in that realization, a soft question begins to form. If these stones are fossils of creation, what treasures might they hold beyond memory? What resources lie within them, metals, water, elements, waiting not just to tell us of the past, but to shape our future? You breathe and the thought lingers like a spark, not yet flame. The stones, silent in their orbits, wait still. They are not only relics, they may also be opportunities, unopened gifts circling the sun. You rest now knowing the night sky is more than decoration. It is a record of fire cooled into stone, of chaos smoothed into rhythm. The asteroids remind you of beginnings, of patience, of the long arc of creation. The hidden wealth of space rocks. Deep inside these drifting stones lie metals, water, and elements we treasure. Iron, nickel, platinum, riches of the stars scattered like crumbs in orbit. Yet their worth is more than money. They are keys to building life beyond Earth. Slowly you sense that wealth here means possibility, not just possession. You float in thought among the stones that circle quietly through the dark. They seem so small, so ordinary at first glance, rough fragments drifting in endless night. But within them lies a kind of hidden wealth, silent treasures that shimmer in the imagination as much as in reality. You breathe slowly, and with each breath you picture their insides unfolding before you. These rocks are not empty. They are filled with metals, elements, and even water, the very ingredients of survival and progress. Iron and nickel run through them like threads of silver in stone. Platinum and gold hide there too, scattered like secret dust from ancient stars. To touch an asteroid is to touch a vault, not one built by human hands, but by the long patience of cosmic time. For centuries humans have looked for wealth in the soil of Earth, in rivers, in mines, in mountains cut open. But compared to the riches of asteroids, Earth's reserves are only a fraction. One medium-sized asteroid, no larger than a city block, could contain more metal than has ever been mined in all of human history. The thought drifts gently through your mind, a treasure chest orbiting above, waiting quietly for recognition. Yet, the wealth of asteroids is not simply about money or value, as humans define it. Their true gift lies in utility. Metals can build, water frozen within their cores can be melted into liquid, breathed as oxygen, burned as rocket fuel. What lies locked in these stones is not just currency, but continuity. They are stepping stones, resources that can make life sustainable far from Earth. Imagine astronauts one day landing on such a rock. Their boots press into the dust, their gloved hands brushing against fragments older than Earth's oceans. They dig, not for greed, but for survival. A pocket of frozen water becomes a drink, a breath, a flame that powers a ship farther outward. The asteroid becomes not only an archive of the past, but a foundation for the future. Breathe slowly and consider the quiet generosity of these rocks. They ask nothing. They drift on, patient in their orbits, whether we seek them or not. Their wealth waits in silence, ready to support life if approached with care. And in that stillness, they remind you that true abundance is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it lies hidden, awaiting discovery. The metals within asteroids are themselves ancient travelers. Iron, for example, was born in the core of massive stars, released only when those stars exploded as supernovae. Nickel, platinum, cobalt, all of them share the same story. Forged in the violent deaths of suns, scattered into space, gathered again into the early solar system, and locked into stone. When you hold an asteroid's metal, you are holding star stuff made solid. You are touching remnants of explosions that once lit the galaxy. And so, wealth becomes a question of perspective. On Earth we measure it in numbers, markets, and economies. But in space, wealth is elemental. Metal to build with, water to drink, oxygen to breathe. Wealth here is survival, continuity, and expansion. It is not simply possession, but possibility. As you rest deeper into this thought, you realize that the idea of wealth itself begins to soften. What if the metals of asteroids were so abundant that gold lost its rarity, platinum was no longer precious, and iron was infinite? Would wealth still mean the same? Or would it shift, becoming less about ownership and more about how wisely those resources were used? You breathe in and let the question rest in your chest, for wealth has always been a mirror, reflecting what humans value most. Perhaps in the vastness of space, wealth will come to mean freedom, the ability to live and build without the limits of Earth. Or perhaps it will mean responsibility, to use what is found with care, to honor the silence of the stones even as we draw from their gifts. Picture yourself walking across such a rock. The horizon curves quickly because the body is small. Above you, Earth is a blue star far away. Beneath you, metals and ice lie waiting. You sense how fragile you are, yet how abundant the stone is. The wealth feels less like ownership, more like partnership. The asteroid offers, and you receive with humility. This is the hidden wealth of space rocks, not only in what they hold, but in what they teach. They remind you that resources are not simply things to be taken, but bridges to possibility. They remind you that survival is linked to imagination, to seeing stone as sustenance, dust as breath, silence as opportunity. And as you close your eyes now, you feel how the idea of wealth expands beyond numbers. It becomes patience, endurance, and the quiet generosity of the universe itself. These rocks drift without need, yet they hold enough to sustain entire futures. In their stillness, they show you what true abundance looks like. How we listen to silent orbits. Your mind softens into the rhythm of space surveys and gentle telescopes. Light curves, spectral colors, and radar echoes reveal what the eye cannot see. Each signal is a heartbeat of a rock crossing through eternity. And you realize that watching the sky is like reading in candlelight, patient, steady. The night sky feels still to you, but nothing within it truly rests. Every stone, every planet, every drifting grain of dust is in motion. They circle, they wander, they tumble along their paths with a rhythm so steady that your eyes cannot notice. To see these orbits requires a different kind of vision. Not the quick glance of the naked eye, but the patient listening of instruments built to translate silence into meaning. Astronomers have learned to listen to what cannot be heard. They do not wait for asteroids to announce themselves. Instead, they trace faint reflections of light, small dips in starlight, tiny echoes of radio waves. Each signal is delicate, almost fragile. But within it lies the story of a stone's path, its size, its composition, even its secrets. Imagine a telescope resting on a mountain, its mirror turned upward like a calm, unblinking eye. Night after night, it gathers light that has traveled for millions of years. Some of this light has brushed against the surface of asteroids, scattering back toward us. When astronomers measure this reflection, they learn how bright or dark the rock is, how quickly it spins, how smooth or jagged its surface might be. To you, it feels like reading whispers carried across an ocean, faint but full of meaning. Sometimes the listening grows even quieter. An asteroid may pass in front of a distant star, and for a few seconds the star's light dims. To most, this dimming would be unnoticed. But for those who watch carefully, it is everything. That shadow, brief and delicate, tells the shape of the asteroid, the outline of a rock too distant to ever hold in your hands. It is as if the universe briefly sketches the stone for you in negative space. Then there is radar, a different kind of listening. From Earth, we send out radio waves, pulses of energy traveling outward into the dark. When they touch an asteroid, some of that energy bounces back, returning to us like an echo. By studying the delay, the strength, the distortion of the signal, astronomers paint images of these rocks. Craters appear, ridges emerge, even boulders can be mapped. Radar listening is like closing your eyes in a cave and clapping your hands, learning the shape of the cavern from the echoes. Each method is gentle, patient, respectful. No one rushes the sky. The stones move on their own terms, circling the sun in cycles that take years or decades. Our listening must adapt to them. To follow their orbits is to embrace slowness, to accept that knowledge arrives not in sudden bursts, but in steady accumulation, like drops of water filling a vessel. Breathe slowly as you picture these instruments at work. The telescope's mirror glowing faintly under starlight. The radar dish turning, sending its quiet pulses into the void. Computers recording lines of numbers, each one a translation of silence. The data may seem abstract, but behind it is something deeply human. Curiosity, patience, the desire to understand. You realize that this listening mirrors something within yourself. Just as astronomers wait for light curves and echoes, you too can listen for the subtle rhythms of your own body. Your heartbeat, steady but often ignored. Your breath rising and falling in cycles. Your thoughts circling in patterns you may not always notice. The practice of listening to asteroids, to yourself, requires the same patience, the same softness, the same willingness to see what hides in silence. Instruments now orbit above Earth as well, satellites that watch the sky without interruption. They scan for moving points against the stillness of stars, tracing asteroids that wander close to our planet. These surveys are both scientific and protective, for to know their orbits is also to know whether danger approaches. But even here, the act of listening is calm, methodical, almost meditative. No panic, only observation. No rushing, only steady awareness. As you imagine these tools at work, you begin to feel a deep connection to the stones themselves. Though they do not speak, they still leave traces. Their orbits are like signatures across the solar system, patterns written over billions of years. By listening, we honor those patterns. By observing, we acknowledge their presence. Silence does not mean absence, it means invitation. Picture now the data arriving, lines of graphs, subtle dips of brightness, faint radar outlines. To most eyes they are only numbers, but to an attentive mind they become shapes, surfaces, stories. One asteroid may reveal a hidden crater, another may hint at layers of ice beneath dust. Each discovery is a quiet revelation, like uncovering a fossil with the lightest brush of a finger. You rest deeper into this thought, realizing that listening itself is a form of intimacy. To listen is to pay attention, to be present with something that does not demand your notice. Asteroids do not call out, they do not shine like stars or roar like planets with atmospheres. They move in silence, and only those who choose to listen ever know they are there. In this way, the act of listening becomes its own reward. Whether the stones hold wealth, whether they hold water or metal, whether they pose danger or opportunity, all of this comes later. The first gift is awareness itself. The first treasure is the discovery that silence can be full of meaning, if you are patient enough to hear. You close your eyes and the image of telescopes and radar fades into the quiet of your own breath. The lesson remains: patience, presence, and the art of listening. Just as astronomers learn from faint signals, you too can learn from the faint signals within yourself and within the world around you. Machines that learn to touch the void. You imagine robotic explorers built with precision yet moving with delicate care. Their metal arms reach for stones that drift without anchor or sound. Every maneuver is a dance guided by physics and the whisper of thrusters. These machines extend your own hand into the silence. You drift deeper into the night of thought, and now your imagination follows not only stones, but the hands we have built to reach them. The asteroids circle in silence, patient as ever, and humanity has begun to send quiet companions after them, machines made not of flesh and bone, but of circuits, metal, and solar wings. These machines are our first attempts to touch the void with care. Picture one rising into space. A rocket lifts from Earth, trembling with fire, but within its shaking shell rests a fragile explorer, no larger than a car. It has no heartbeat, no breath, yet in its sensors and instruments it carries our curiosity. Once free of Earth's pull, it unfurls its solar panels like wings, drawing light from the sun to feed its voyage. There, alone in the dark, it becomes a moving fragment of human intention. These machines travel for months, sometimes years, before they ever meet their destination. The void does not shorten the journey. It requires patience, the same patience the asteroids themselves embody. But as they approach their silent targets, the machines awaken with precision. They fire gentle thrusters to adjust their paths, each puff of gas a whisper of movement. There is no rushing here, only small corrections, delicate and exact, to match the orbit of a drifting rock. Imagine how difficult this dance truly is. The asteroid does not sit still, waiting. It circles the sun in its ancient rhythm, and the spacecraft must learn that rhythm, match it, then ease itself close enough to hover. There is no air to slow a descent, no ground to push against. Every movement must be calculated, every adjustment measured. It is like reaching out to touch a falling leaf while you yourself are floating in the wind. And yet, humanity has done it. In recent decades, robotic explorers have met asteroids face to face. The Japanese spacecraft Hayabusa, small and resilient, landed briefly on Itokawa and later on Ryugu, carrying back grains of dust that told stories of the early solar system. NASA's OSIRIS-REx, patient and deliberate, descended to Bennu, stretched out its arm and with a short puff of gas collected a handful of ancient material. These samples, returned to Earth, are like letters delivered from billions of years ago. Think of the delicacy required. The machine's arm extends slowly, its joints moving like a careful hand. It does not grip too tightly, for the surface is fragile, prone to scattering dust into the void. Instead it brushes, nudges, gathers, a movement as soft as a breath. And in that softness it succeeds. Breathe with that image, a machine alone in space, moving gently to touch a drifting stone. It is not conquest, it is not invasion, it is contact, brief and reverent, as though bowing in respect before taking what is offered. In its stillness you recognize something deeply human, the capacity to reach out with care, even when the hand is made of steel. These explorers are extensions of you. Though you may never leave Earth, the spacecraft are your outstretched fingers, your steady eyes. Through them, you learn to touch the untouchable. You feel their patience, their vulnerability, their resilience, and you realize that even in a place where no human breath can survive, our curiosity finds a way to act. Machines learn too in their own quiet way. They adjust their movements based on feedback, guided by invisible signals from Earth, but also by their own senses. They feel the tug of gravity, measure the heat of sunlight, register the faint push of dust. Slowly they adapt, slowly they learn, not as we learn with emotions and memory, but with algorithms, with feedback loops. Yet the outcome is the same: survival, precision, the ability to persist in the silence. This is a new kind of relationship, not just between humanity and asteroids, but between humanity and its creations. The machines carry our instructions, but they also embody our trust. Once sent, they are too far to control directly. Light takes minutes, even hours, to travel between them and Earth. Every command is delayed, so the machines must decide small actions for themselves. They must hold their position, adjust their orientation, shield themselves from debris. They act not as puppets, but as partners. And so you begin to sense a profound truth. In reaching for the asteroids, we are also learning to let go. We are learning to trust what we have made. These explorers carry not only our curiosity, but our willingness to allow another form, mechanical, patient, silent, to act on our behalf. Now imagine yourself as one of these machines. Your solar panels stretch wide, your sensors gaze outward. The sun warms you, but space chills you. A balance of extremes. You circle a stone that has wandered for eons, and in that circling you match its rhythm. You are alone, but you are not lonely. You are fulfilling a purpose: to listen, to touch, to bring back knowledge. As you sink deeper into this vision, you realize the poetry of it. A stone born from cosmic fire billions of years ago meets a machine born from human fire only decades ago. One is ancient, silent, enduring. The other is young, fragile, temporary. And yet for a brief moment their paths cross. The machine touches the stone yields its dust, a connection forms across time and silence. This is what it means to explore. Not to take without thought, but to meet, to learn, to exchange. The asteroid gives us memory, the machine brings it home. Together they complete a circle that began in fire and continues in curiosity. You rest with this thought, letting it settle in your chest. The machines are not only tools, they are mirrors of our own desire to reach, to extend beyond limits, to learn with humility. They remind you that even in the coldest silence, life finds ways to touch and be touched. And so, as you drift further into calm, you imagine what might come next. If machines can touch, can gather, can return, what else might they build? Could they one day use the metals and water of asteroids to create fuel, to weave habitats, to construct stepping stones for journeys even farther outward? The question lingers, soft but insistent. The future is not yet written, but the machines have begun the first lines. Water, air, and the architecture of space. Living beyond metals lies ice, frozen water, fragile yet priceless in orbit. Melted, it becomes breath, fuel, and the first step to independence from Earth. Asteroids hold not just wealth, but the seeds of sustainable life in the cosmos. You breathe slowly, picturing a sip of water that once drifted in endless dark. Close your eyes and imagine drifting beside an asteroid, its surface dark, dusty, and cold. Beneath that rough skin, hidden within its rocky pores, lies a quiet treasure. Ice. It is not much to look at, not gleaming like metal or precious like jewels. It is simple, fragile, crystalline. And yet in the vastness of space, water is more valuable than gold. On Earth, water feels abundant. You drink it without thought, you hear it in rain, you see it in rivers. But in space, every drop is a miracle. To find frozen water inside an asteroid is to discover breath itself, hidden in stone. For melt it and you have liquid to drink. Split it and you have oxygen to breathe and hydrogen to burn as fuel. What seems like plain ice becomes the architecture of survival. Breathe slowly. Imagine holding a glass of water, clear and still. On Earth it is ordinary. Out here it is everything. Without it no garden can grow, no lungs can expand, no journey can continue. The asteroids, in their quiet generosity, offer this hidden gift. They carry water in the form of ice and hydrated minerals, preserved from the earliest days of the solar system. This water may be as old as the planets themselves, untouched since the time of formation. To drink it would be to sip the memory of creation. Scientists have already found these traces. Probes sent to asteroids have detected signs of water locked within minerals, molecules bound to rock. In comets, which are cousins to asteroids, water vapor has been seen streaming away in tails of gas. The presence of water is no longer speculation, it is fact, and that fact changes everything about how we dream of living beyond Earth. Picture a future spacecraft landing on such a rock. Not with shovels for mining metal, but with heaters to melt ice, filters to purify water, and tanks to store it. The asteroid becomes not only a destination, but a reservoir. Its frozen heart supplies air to breathe, fuel for engines, and liquid for life. Suddenly, astronauts do not need to carry everything from Earth. They can live off the land if the land is stone and ice. This idea is called in situ resource utilization, using what is already there. It is a gentle philosophy, one that listens to the environment and finds sustenance within it. Instead of dragging every supply from Earth's deep gravity well, we turn to the sky itself for support. And in doing so, we learn to adapt, to see value not only in gold or platinum, but in the simplest, most essential gift, water. Imagine now the architecture that could rise from this, not towering buildings, but habitats spun from asteroid material, lined with ice-turned water that cycles endlessly. Gardens could grow beneath artificial lights, their roots drinking from melted stone. Airlocks could hiss with oxygen freed from minerals. Ships could fuel themselves with hydrogen, leaping from one asteroid to another, each stop a refueling station in the great ocean of space. This is the blueprint of independence. It begins not with conquest, but with balance. By using what is offered, by turning frozen dust into breath and flame, we step gently into the cosmos. The asteroids become not scars of extraction, but partners in continuity. Breathe again and imagine sipping water in orbit. The droplet floats, a perfect sphere shimmering with reflected starlight. You guide it to your lips, and in swallowing, you realize you are drinking something that once drifted silently through the solar system, untouched for eons. It is not just hydration, it is connection. You and the cosmos join through a single swallow. Water, so simple, holds deep symbolism. It cleanses, sustains, renews. On Earth, rivers carve valleys, rains nourish soil, seas cradle life. In space, water carries the same promise: to sustain, to renew, to carve futures where none seemed possible. It is the thread that links worlds. Without it, no living architecture can endure. With it, even the void can be inhabited. The thought soothes you. For even as humanity looks outward, uncertain and small, the asteroids remind us that the essentials of life are not locked away forever. They drift nearby, waiting, patient as always, ready to be used with care. The architecture of space living begins not with walls or machines, but with water. It begins with the simplest molecule, hydrogen joined to oxygen, born in the hearts of stars and preserved in ice. And so you rest in this vision, a vision of habitats spinning slowly in orbit, their walls thick with regolith for shielding, their gardens green beneath artificial suns, their wells fed by asteroid ice. You see families breathing air that was once locked in rock, children drinking water that once floated in the silence between planets. The architecture of survival is not separate from the cosmos, it is woven from it. As your mind softens, you realize that water's gift extends beyond survival. It is also a gift of possibility. For when humans learn to drink from stone, to breathe from dust, to fuel their ships with ice, they free themselves from dependence on Earth. They become participants in a larger cycle, carried not by scarcity but by adaptation. This thought lingers, gentle yet profound. For if asteroids hold water, they hold not only the past but the future. They become wells in the desert of space, guiding us onward, offering continuity in the silence. And you, listening now, can feel the weight of that promise settling into calm assurance. The economics of infinity. You reflect on value. What is gold when abundance is no longer rare? Asteroid mining reshapes not only spaceflight but the story of wealth itself. Supply, demand, and imagination bend when the cosmos opens its vault. And quietly you wonder what rich truly means in a boundless universe. You rest now in the thought of water drawn from stone, sustaining life where no rivers flow. Yet as your mind drifts further, another kind of question emerges. Not of survival, but of value. Not of breath, but of worth. For if asteroids hold more metal than Earth has ever known, if they carry platinum and gold in quantities that make rarity vanish, then what becomes of wealth in a universe where the vault is infinite? On Earth, value has always been shaped by limits. Gold is precious because it is scarce. Diamonds gleam not only for their beauty, but because they are rare. Entire economies rise and fall on the tension between supply and demand, between scarcity and desire. But in the silence of space, scarcity softens. Imagine a single asteroid, perhaps no larger than a mountain, containing more platinum than has ever been mined in human history. Imagine hundreds of such stones orbiting quietly, waiting. Suddenly the meaning of wealth is stretched thin, like a fabric pulled beyond recognition. Breathe slowly as you picture this shift. If platinum floods the markets, it is no longer precious. If iron is gathered in endless supply, its value changes. The economy built for limits must find new balance in abundance. And here lies the paradox. The cosmos offers infinity, but infinity demands a new way of thinking. The economics of infinity is not about hoarding nor about scarcity. It is about reimagining what matters when material wealth loses its edge. When gold no longer dazzles, perhaps value shifts to knowledge, to creativity, to the ability to use resources wisely rather than simply possess them. The asteroids invite this shift, not with force, but with quiet abundance. Pause and reflect on history. Humanity has already known smaller versions of this transformation. Once salt was wealth, traded like treasure, fought over, preserved in the word salary. Then salt became common, its abundance erasing its power. Coal once powered empires, then oil, then silicon. Each time value shifted, economies reshaped, and definitions of wealth evolved. The asteroids may be the next turning point, not just for markets, but for meaning itself. Yet even as your mind considers this, you realize that the economics of infinity is not simple. To bring asteroid metals to Earth, technology must be perfected, launch costs must fall, infrastructure must grow. At first, the difficulty of access will keep materials rare. A single gram of platinum from space might cost billions to retrieve, but with time, as machines become better, as voyages grow easier, abundance will flow. And when it flows, wealth itself must be reconsidered. Imagine yourself as a future miner, not with a pickaxe, but with a fleet of robots guided by quiet algorithms. You extract metal not to flood markets, but to build in space. The iron becomes the beams of orbital stations. The nickel alloys form protective hulls. The platinum catalyzes fuel production, turning hydrogen and oxygen into fire. The economics of infinity may not even be about bringing riches back to Earth. It may be about using riches where they already are, in orbit among the stars. Breathe again and let this truth settle. The real value of asteroid wealth may not be measured in coins or markets, but in freedom. Freedom from carrying everything out of Earth's deep gravity well. Freedom to build, to live, to explore using what is already present in space. Wealth here is possibility, not possession. Infinity reshapes desire, and desire reshapes economy. Still, the question lingers. How will humanity respond to such abundance? Will the discovery of infinite riches bring cooperation, shared progress, and collective dreams? Or will it awaken old patterns of rivalry, competition, and conflict projected outward into the stars? The asteroids remain silent, offering no answers. They simply drift, holding their wealth as they always have, indifferent to who might claim it. You think of Earth's own history again. Gold rushes brought opportunity, but also chaos. Wealth built cities, but also left scars. Perhaps the challenge of the asteroids is not only technical, but ethical. To ensure that infinity does not lead to waste, that abundance does not lead to greed, the economics of infinity must be paired with the ethics of responsibility. Without one, the other collapses. Picture now a community in orbit, a settlement living among harvested stones. Its buildings gleam with metals once locked away in rock. Its air is fresh with oxygen freed from ice. Its ships fuel themselves on hydrogen drawn from dust. In this vision, wealth is not about accumulation. It is about flow, resources circulating, supporting life, enabling exploration. The vault of the cosmos has been opened, not to enrich a few, but to expand possibility for all. And yet, even in this vision, you feel humility. For no matter how much metal is mined, no matter how much water is freed, the universe remains vast and untouched. Infinity is not something you can own. It is something you can enter into carefully, respectfully, with awareness. Wealth, in this context, becomes less about grasping and more about participating, being part of a cycle larger than yourself. Let this thought soothe you as you drift further inward. The economics of infinity is not a puzzle to be solved tonight. It is a gentle horizon, a reminder that the universe does not end where Earth's markets do. That wealth may one day be measured not in scarcity, but in the wisdom of use. That abundance can be both gift and challenge, depending on the spirit with which it is received. Your breath slows, and you imagine again a handful of asteroid dust. In it lies iron, nickel, platinum, water. In it lies survival, freedom, possibility. But more than that, in it lies a question. What does it mean to be rich in a universe without limits? The gentle weight of ethics. You pause, asking whether every frontier is meant to be claimed. Asteroids have circled the sun in peace for eons. Should we disturb them? Ownership in the void feels different than land beneath our feet. In the hush of night, questions of stewardship grow louder than greed. The thought of abundance lingers with you, soft and unsettling. Infinite metals, endless water, resources scattered across the sky like seeds on the wind. Yet in the quiet of night, another voice rises, not the excitement of possibility, but the whisper of responsibility. For if the cosmos is a vault, who should hold its key? And if the asteroids are archives of creation, what right do we have to turn their silence into profit? On Earth, ownership has always been tangled with the land beneath our feet, boundaries drawn, fences built, maps inked with claims. But space is different. It has no borders, no nations, no rivers or mountains to divide. The asteroids circle freely, untouched by human hands for billions of years. To extend ownership into that void feels heavy, as though drawing lines on water or staking flags into clouds. Pause here and breathe. Let the question settle into your chest. Should everything that can be used, or does some value lie in leaving things untouched? For in their silence, the asteroids remind you of patience, of endurance without interference. To mine them is to disturb that stillness. Perhaps it is necessary for survival. Perhaps it is inevitable for progress. But still the question hums, at what cost? Already humanity has begun to ask. Treaties exist, written in careful words, declaring that no nation may claim the moon or planets, that space belongs to all humanity. But these treaties are fragile, and as technology advances, pressure grows. Companies dream of profits, governments dream of power. The asteroids wait in silence, indifferent, while humans debate the meaning of fairness. Imagine two futures. In one, the asteroids are divided like spoils, claimed by the first to arrive, stripped of metals, hollowed for fuel. Wealth flows, but inequality follows. The vault opens, but only a few hold the keys. In the other future, the resources are shared, guided by stewardship, used to sustain not only survival but collective progress. The vault still opens, but carefully its contents treated as common heritage. Which path humanity will choose is not yet written. Your breath slows, and you notice how ethics weighs differently here than on Earth. On Earth, decisions are bounded by borders, by ecosystems, by the immediacy of consequences. But in space, choices echo across centuries. To strip an asteroid bare is to erase a relic of creation that will never return. To claim infinity for profit alone is to shrink its meaning into numbers. Ethics here feels less like law and more like listening. Listening to silence, to patience, to the idea that not all abundance must be consumed. Consider this. When astronauts first stood on the moon, they described not conquest but awe. They spoke of Earth as fragile, suspended in black, a single sphere of life in an endless void. That view reshaped perspectives, inspiring environmental movements and global awareness. Perhaps visiting asteroids will do the same, reminding us that ethics is not an obstacle to progress, but its compass. Imagine yourself stepping onto such a stone. Your boots press into dust that has not shifted in billions of years. The silence is complete, broken only by the hum of your suit. You know you could drill, extract, carry away. But before you do, you pause. You place a hand on the stone, not as a miner, but as a listener. You feel its patience, its endurance. In that moment, you realize that to act ethically is not to avoid using resources, but to use them with humility. Breathe again. Ethics at its heart is about relationship. How do you relate to a stone that has circled the sun since before Earth existed? How do you honor its history even as you seek its gifts? The answer is not simple, but the question itself is necessary. Without it, progress becomes consumption, and abundance becomes loss. In the stillness of your mind, you sense that ethics may be the true wealth of the cosmos. Metals can be spent, water can be consumed, but wisdom endures. The gentle weight of ethics reminds you that infinity without care is emptiness, but infinity with responsibility is promise. Let this thought settle. You need not resolve it now. Ethics is not a single decision, but an ongoing practice, like breathing, like orbiting, like listening. Each step into the cosmos must carry this gentle weight, or risk becoming hollow. And so you drift calm but reflective, feeling the balance between possibility and responsibility. The asteroids continue their orbits, unchanged, indifferent to human debates, yet in their silence they invite you to think, to question, to imagine futures shaped not only by abundance but by care. Cosmic risks and human fragility. These stones can nurture us, yet they also remind us of danger. A single impact can alter worlds, as it once did with Earth's own story. To mind them is to approach what could also harm us. Fear softens here into awareness, and awareness into humility. The asteroids drift in silence, patient and indifferent. They circle the sun in steady rhythms, carrying wealth, carrying water, carrying the archives of creation. Yet as you linger with their presence, another truth emerges, one that hums low and steady beneath the poetry of possibility. For these same stones that hold the promise of survival also carry the potential for destruction. They are not only resources, not only fossils of fire, they are reminders of fragility. Breathe slowly. Let your thoughts settle into the awareness that Earth itself is not immune. History records it, carved not in books but in craters. Across the globe lie scars, vast depressions where asteroids once struck, moments when the silence of space became violence on Earth. These craters tell stories of fireballs brighter than the sun, of shockwaves racing faster than wind, of dust clouds that shrouded the sky. To look at them is to see evidence of power far beyond human control. Perhaps the most famous story is the one of the dinosaurs. 66 million years ago, a rock no larger than a city struck Earth near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. In seconds, the world shifted. The impact unleashed energy equal to billions of nuclear bombs. Forests ignited, oceans heaved, and skies darkened with ash. Life that had flourished for millions of years was undone in moments. The dinosaurs, once rulers of Earth, could not withstand it. Their story ended and the age of mammals began. Let that thought linger in your chest. A single stone drifting silently for eons altered the course of evolution, reshaped the destiny of Earth. And today, stones of similar size still wander above, circling in their patient orbits. They are not aimed at Earth, not malicious, but their paths and ours can cross. That possibility humbles you, reminding you of fragility. Astronomers watch the sky carefully for this reason. They map orbits, calculate trajectories, predict close approaches. Each faint dot traced in the night sky becomes part of a catalogue, a list of potential risks. Most pose no danger, their paths steady and distant. But a few drift near enough to be called potentially hazardous. The term itself feels heavy, a reminder that silence does not mean safety. Breathe again. Let the awareness settle into calm. For though the danger exists, so too does preparation. Humanity is learning not only to listen, but to act. Missions have already been tested, spacecraft sent to nudge asteroids slightly, altering their paths with gentle force. Like redirecting a pebble in a stream, small pushes given early enough can shift trajectories and prevent disaster. In this, we learn that fragility does not mean helplessness. Awareness becomes protection. Still, the truth of fragility lingers. Earth's atmosphere shields us from the smallest rocks, burning them to bright streaks we call meteors. But larger ones can break through, carrying consequences far beyond human scale. To live beneath this sky is to live with both beauty and risk. The stars above comfort you, but the stones remind you nothing is guaranteed. You rest in this duality. The asteroids are teachers. They offer metals, water, archives of the past, but they also remind us of humility. To approach them for mining is to approach beings that could one day harm us. To study them is to acknowledge that Earth is not invincible. Fragility, once feared, becomes awareness. Awareness becomes wisdom. Imagine yourself walking along Earth's surface after such an impact, long after the flames have cooled. You see the crater, vast and quiet, a bowl of stone where once there was forest. Around it, life has returned. Grasses grow, animals roam, rivers flow again. Fragility does not mean finality. Even in destruction, Earth renews itself. And perhaps this too is the lesson, that risk is real, but resilience endures. Your body mirrors this truth. You are fragile, skin thin against injury, lungs soft against air. Yet you are also resilient. Wounds heal, bones mend, breath continues. The asteroids remind you not only of danger, but of the delicate balance between vulnerability and renewal. To recognize fragility is not to collapse into fear, but to deepen your respect for life. And so you return to the thought of mining, of reaching out with machines to touch these stones. You realize that to mine them is to approach risk directly. To anchor to a drifting rock, to drill into its surface, is to test balance against danger. A single miscalculation could send debris scattering or destabilize an orbit. Fragility extends here too, not only to Earth, but to the very act of reaching. Yet again, fragility does not close doors. It invites caution, patience, humility. To approach asteroids wisely is to acknowledge their dual nature, gift and threat, abundance and risk. Only by carrying both truths together can humanity move forward. Breathe slowly. Let fragility sit with you, not as fear, but as awareness. You feel small beneath the weight of cosmic possibility, but also steady. For in recognizing fragility, you become more alive, more attuned to the value of each moment. The asteroids circle above, indifferent to human concerns, yet their presence sharpens your sense of being. You close your eyes and imagine again the night sky. Each point of light is steady, each orbit continuous. Somewhere among them drifts a stone that may one day come close, but rather than dread, you feel calm. For risk is not new. Humanity has always lived under fragile skies, storms, earthquakes, floods, fires. The asteroids are only another reminder that life endures by adapting, by preparing, by listening. And in that thought you find comfort. For fragility is not weakness, it is awareness of scale, awareness of dependence, awareness of connection. To be fragile is to be open to care. To live beneath the possibility of impact is to learn humility. Dreams of settlements among the stars. Slowly your thoughts stretch beyond one stone toward entire communities, habitats spun from mined metals, gardens fed by melted ice, lives unfolding in orbit. A new chapter of humanity whispers, not in conquest, but in expansion of possibility. The idea lingers like a lullaby of tomorrow. You have lingered with fragility, humbled by the risks of wandering stones. Now your mind, softened and steady, begins to drift into another vision. For if asteroids remind us of danger, they also whisper of promise. They do not only hold the power to end stories, they hold the seeds to begin them anew. And so you imagine, with slow breath and quiet wonder, the dream of settlements among the stars. Picture an asteroid hollowed not by violence but by care. Its rock becomes shelter, its metal shaped into beams, its dust transformed into bricks of survival. Within its walls lights glow softly. Gardens sprout in artificial soils, their roots drinking water once locked in ice. Families walk beneath domes spun from asteroid steel, breathing oxygen released from stone. The silence of billions of years is broken not by destruction, but by life unfolding gently within. Breathe slowly, let yourself drift into this vision. A settlement circling the sun as steadily as the asteroid once did becomes a small world of its own. Children play in corridors lined with green, their laughter carried in low gravity. Workers tend machines that recycle water, that keep the air fresh, that ensure balance in this fragile ecosystem. Outside, the void remains silent, but inside, life pulses with rhythm. Humanity has not conquered the rock. It has partnered with it, reshaped it into a vessel of continuity. The idea of such settlements is not fantasy alone. Engineers already dream of orbital habitats, vast cylinders that spin slowly to create artificial gravity. Inside, entire landscapes could be built, rivers flowing, trees swaying, communities thriving under a sunlit sky projected through massive windows. Some imagine colonies constructed directly from asteroid material, their structures shielded by layers of dust that protect against radiation. The plans are sketches now, but sketches often become blueprints, and blueprints become homes. Let this vision linger. Imagine floating into one of these habitats. You pass through an airlock and step into a world both familiar and strange. The horizon curves upward for the cylinder spins. Above you, houses cling upside down to what seems like the sky. Beyond them, another horizon rises again. You stand in a place where up and down are only directions given by rotation. Yet the air is fresh, the grass beneath your feet is real, and the water flowing in streams is drawn from asteroid wells. The dream of settlements among the stars is more than survival. It is about expansion, not expansion of territory and conquest, but expansion of possibility. It is about carrying life where silence has ruled, about weaving continuity where emptiness has lingered. It is about giving future generations not only Earth, but the cosmos as their inheritance. Your breath slows and you sense the rhythm of this dream. Humanity, once bound to one planet, begins to scatter seeds of life into space. Each asteroid settlement becomes a garden, each orbital habitat a greenhouse of culture, memory, and hope. The cosmos, once thought hostile and unreachable, becomes a landscape for life's resilience. But you also notice the humility required. To live among the stars is not to escape limits. It is to embrace them in new forms. Every drop of water must be recycled, every breath of oxygen preserved, every beam of sunlight managed. Settlements in space would be fragile, balanced ecosystems where waste is not tolerated and care is constant. In this fragility perhaps lies wisdom. For by living among the stars, humanity may finally learn the value of balance, a lesson Earth has always tried to teach. Pause here and imagine the beauty of such a life. To wake each morning with Earth shining in the distance, a blue jewel suspended in black. To know your home is both within the cylinder and on the planet below. To carry dual belonging to Earth where life began, and to the stars where life continues. This duality would reshape identity itself, reminding each person that they are not only of one nation or one planet, but of the cosmos. Consider too how such settlements would reshape culture. Music played in low gravity might sound different, drifting longer through thin air. Art could bloom across curved horizons, murals stretching endlessly along spinning walls. Festivals might celebrate not harvests of grain alone, but harvests of recycled water, of oxygen tanks full, of solar panels restored. Life among the stars would weave new traditions, rooted in necessity, but flowering into meaning. And beyond culture lies perspective. To live in orbit is to see Earth always whole, always fragile. No borders are visible, no walls, no divisions. From that vantage, humanity may finally feel its unity, its shared dependence on one small sphere. Settlements among the stars may not only extend life, they may expand compassion. Breathe again. The dream feels vast, yet it begins with something small, a stone, a fragment, a single asteroid. From one rock comes water, metal, air, and shelter. From one vision comes the possibility of communities. Infinity becomes intimate, scaled to human hands and hearts. The cosmos, once abstract, becomes a neighborhood. And as you drift deeper into this vision, you realize that the dream is not only about technology or engineering, it is about imagination itself. For centuries, humans have dreamed of ships that sail oceans, of wings that fly skies, of machines that reach planets. Each dream seemed impossible until it was not. Settlements among the stars may feel distant now, but dreams have a way of becoming blueprints, and blueprints have a way of becoming homes. The asteroids circle still, indifferent, patient. They carry wealth, yes, but also the potential to cradle life. The silence of billions of years waits for voices, for laughter, for the rhythm of human presence. And you, resting here, can sense the softness of that possibility. Not conquest, not domination, but continuation, a lullaby of tomorrow sung by stone and carried by stars. Dreams of settlements among the stars. Slowly your thoughts stretch beyond one stone toward entire communities, habitats spun from mined metals, gardens fed by melted ice, lives unfolding in orbit. A new chapter of humanity whispers, not in conquest, but in expansion of possibility. The idea lingers like a lullaby of tomorrow. You have lingered with fragility, humbled by the risks of wandering stones. Now your mind, softened and steady, begins to drift into another vision. For if asteroids remind us of danger, they also whisper of promise. They do not only hold the power to end stories, they hold the seeds to begin them anew. And so you imagine, with slow breath and quiet wonder, the dream of settlements among the stars. Picture an asteroid hollowed not by violence but by care. Its rock becomes shelter, its metal shaped into beams, its dust transformed into bricks of survival. Within its walls, lights glow softly. Gardens sprout in artificial soils, their roots drinking water once locked in ice. Families walk beneath domes spun from asteroid steel, breathing oxygen released from stone. The silence of billions of years is broken not by destruction, but by life unfolding gently within. Breathe slowly, let yourself drift into this vision. A settlement circling the sun as steadily as the asteroid once did becomes a small world of its own. Children play in corridors lined with green, their laughter carried in low gravity. Workers tend machines that recycle water, that keep the air fresh, that ensure balance in this fragile ecosystem. Outside, the void remains silent, but inside, life pulses with rhythm. Humanity has not conquered the rock. It has partnered with it, reshaped it into a vessel of continuity. The idea of such settlements is not fantasy alone. Engineers already dream of orbital habitats, vast cylinders that spin slowly to create artificial gravity. Inside, entire landscapes could be built, rivers flowing, trees swaying, communities thriving under a sunlit sky projected through massive windows. Some imagine colonies constructed directly from asteroid material, their structures shielded by layers of dust that protect against radiation. The plans are sketches now, but sketches often become blueprints, and blueprints become homes. Let this vision linger. Imagine floating into one of these habitats. You pass through an airlock and step into a world both familiar and strange. The horizon curves upward for the cylinder spins. Above you, houses cling upside down to what seems like the sky. Beyond them, another horizon rises again. You stand in a place where up and down are only directions given by rotation. Yet the air is fresh, the grass beneath your feet is real, and the water flowing in streams is drawn from asteroid wells. The dream of settlements among the stars is more than survival. It is about expansion. Not expansion of territory and conquest, but expansion of possibility. It is about carrying life where silence has ruled, about weaving continuity where emptiness has lingered. It is about giving future generations not only Earth, but the cosmos as their inheritance. Your breath slows and you sense the rhythm of this dream. Humanity, once bound to one planet, begins to scatter seeds of life into space. Each asteroid settlement becomes a garden, each orbital habitat a greenhouse of culture, memory, and hope. The cosmos, once thought hostile and unreachable, becomes a landscape for life's resilience. But you also notice the humility required. To live among the stars is not to escape limits. It is to embrace them in new forms. Every drop of water must be recycled, every breath of oxygen preserved, every beam of sunlight managed. Settlements in space would be fragile, balanced ecosystems where waste is not tolerated and care is constant. In this fragility perhaps lies wisdom. For by living among the stars, humanity may finally learn the value of balance, a lesson Earth has always tried to teach. Pause here and imagine the beauty of such a life. To wake each morning with Earth shining in the distance, a blue jewel suspended in black. To know your home is both within the cylinder and on the planet below. To carry dual belonging to Earth, where life began, and to the stars, where life continues. This duality would reshape identity itself, reminding each person that they are not only of one nation or one planet, but of the cosmos. Consider too how such settlements would reshape culture. Music played in low gravity might sound different, drifting longer through thin air. Art could bloom across curved horizons, murals stretching endlessly along spinning walls. Festivals might celebrate not harvests of grain alone, but harvests of recycled water, of oxygen tanks full, of solar panels restored. Life among the stars would weave new traditions, rooted in necessity, but flowering into meaning. Returning to Earth, carrying the stars. The journey closes gently as you find yourself back beneath the night sky. The asteroids continue circling, unchanged, while you carry their lessons home. They remind you of patience, of potential, of the quiet work of time. And you rest, knowing that even in sleep, the universe keeps moving. You open your eyes again to the familiar. Earth beneath you, sky above you, air soft and full against your lungs. The long journey through asteroids and archives, through fire and silence, through wealth and fragility, begins to settle like dust returning to ground. Yet within you, something has shifted. You have not brought back metals or ice or fragments of stone, but you have carried something greater, perspective. The night sky above feels different now. The stars shimmer as they always have, the constellations steady in their patterns. The asteroids still drift unseen, circling as patiently as before. Nothing outwardly has changed, and yet within you the silence of their orbits continues to echo. You carry their lessons now tucked into memory, woven into breath. Breathe slowly. With each inhale you recall patience. The asteroids taught you that time is vast, that endurance requires no hurry. With each exhale you recall humility. They showed you fragility, that even worlds can be altered in an instant, that survival is never guaranteed. Patience and humility taken together soften you, grounding you into the rhythm of life. You reflect on the wealth they revealed, metals shining in silence, water hidden in stone, resources enough to fuel futures. But you also remember the deeper truth, that wealth is not only in possession, but in possibility, that abundance is nothing without wisdom, that ethics, like orbit, must be steady, guiding action without demand. These lessons do not fade as you return to Earth, they deepen, shaping how you see the world around you. Pause here and let your mind drift to Earth itself. The rivers, the forests, the mountains, all of it is finite, all of it fragile, just as you saw in the asteroids. The same care you imagined extending to silent rocks now feels essential for the living world beneath your feet. The stars remind you, stewardship does not begin in space. It begins here, on Earth, where the same atoms dance in rivers and leaves, in lungs and oceans. Imagine holding again the pebble that dissolved into starlight. Though gone, it lingers in meaning. Within it were archives of history, chemistry of stars, the promise of futures. And now you realize Earth itself is a pebble, suspended in the cosmos, carrying its own archive, its own chemistry, its own potential. To live here is to carry the stars already, without leaving. You are not separate from the cosmos, you are a continuation of it. Breathe deeply, inhale and feel the iron in your blood, once born in stars, now circulating through your veins. Exhale and imagine the carbon in your breath, once drifting in cosmic dust, now exhaled into night air. You are not only returning to Earth, you are recognizing that you never left. You have always been carrying the stars within you. The asteroids, circling still, become companions in memory. They remind you of creation's fire, of silence's patience, of abundance's challenge, of fragility's lesson. They do not ask to be remembered, but you remember anyway. For in their quiet endurance they mirror your own search for meaning. Now your thoughts drift further inward. What does it mean to return, to come back from journeys of imagination and wonder, back to the soft rhythm of breath, back to the steady pulse of your own body? It means carrying the journey with you, letting it shape how you move through ordinary days. The extraordinary teaches you how to see the ordinary anew. Imagine walking tomorrow beneath daylight skies. The world bustles with movement, cars, voices, footsteps, waves against shore. Yet beneath all of it, the asteroids still circle, patient, unchanged. Their silence flows like an undercurrent, reminding you that life is layered, busy on the surface, timeless underneath. You walk with greater calm because you know that silence endures even in the noise. You may never touch an asteroid with your own hand, never mine its metals or sip its water, yet you have touched them in imagination, and imagination carries weight. The lessons they hold are not locked in orbit, they are alive within you now. When you pause, when you listen, when you care for the fragile world beneath your feet, you are honoring the silence of the stones above. Your breath slows again. You feel yourself drifting toward sleep, the journey closing gently. The universe keeps moving. Asteroids circle, stars burn, galaxies drift apart. And you, small but aware, carry the echo of it all in your chest. That echo is enough.